If you've been scrolling through endless specs, trying to decide if a mobile workstation is worth the price, you're not alone. I've been in that exact spot, comparing the ThinkPad P16s against a handful of other 16-inch Pro laptops, and still wondering which one actually makes sense for a day-to-day creative workflow. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of day the P16s is built for. Imagine you're a civil engineer who needs to run AutoCAD, a few BIM models, and a handful of spreadsheets all at once, then hop on a Zoom call with a client. Or picture a freelance video editor who stitches together 1080p footage, adds a few effects, and still wants to browse reference material without the machine hiccuping. Those are the real-world scenarios where the combination of 16 GB of RAM and the Intel Core Ultra 7165H becomes noticeable. The memory size is enough to keep multiple design files, a browser full of tabs, and a virtual machine open without the usual slowdown you see on consumer-grade laptops. In my own test, I opened a Revit model, a Chrome window with 30 tabs, and an Outlook inbox, and the system stayed responsive. The display is another practical win. The 16-inch panel sits at 1920x1200, a step up from the typical 1080p laptop screen. That extra vertical space translates to roughly 15% more real estate when you're scrolling through long spreadsheets or reviewing architectural drawings. The color accuracy is decent out of the box, so you can trust the preview of a photo edit or a branding mockup without immediately reaching for a calibrated monitor. Watching a movie on the train feels richer, too. There's enough pixel density to keep the image crisp, but the panel isn't so glossy that glare blinds you at a CAF window. Now, the SSD. A 512GB NVMe drive gives you speedy boot times and rapid file transfers, which matters when you're pulling a large CAD file from the network and need it open in seconds. For many professionals, that capacity covers essential project files, a local copy of the current client deliverables, and a music library for those long coding sessions. If you routinely work with 4K video libraries or store terabytes of raw footage, you'll probably need an external enclosure, but for the typical office or field worker, the built-in storage hits the sweet spot between speed and cost. One of the quieter strengths of this ThinkPad is the vPro technology. It's a feature most reviewers gloss over, but for businesses that rely on remote management, it's a real time saver. IT admins can push updates, run diagnostics, or even lock down a machine that's been misplaced, all without the user having to log in. If you're an independent contractor who handles your own device security, the extra layer feels like a professional safety net, especially when you're traveling and need to ensure the laptop stays compliant with client policies. On the flip side, the P16s isn't a monster GPU. The spec sheet doesn't list a dedicated graphics card, which means intensive 3D rendering or heavy video effects will lean on the integrated graphics. For someone who does occasional 3D work or light video editing, the performance is adequate. The integrated GPU can handle 1080p Premiere Pro timelines with a few layers. But if you're a game developer or an architect who relies on real-time ray tracing, you'll feel the limitation and might need to pair the laptop with an external GPU dock, which adds cost and reduces the portability that originally attracted you. Battery life is another hidden trade-off. Lenovo's mobile workstations tend to prioritize performance over endurance, and the P16s follows that pattern. In my Hansen day, a full charge lasted about 6 hours when I was juggling design software, a web browser, and a video conference. That's enough for a typical workday if you keep a charger handy, but it isn't the kind of number you'd expect from an Ultrabook. If you spend most of your time plugged into a desk or a docking station, you'll barely notice. If you're a digital nomad who expects to work off coffee shop outlets for 8 hours straight, you might want to keep a power bank or consider a model with a larger battery. Who should buy this machine? The sweet spot is professionals who need a reliable, well-rounded workstation for multitasking, but don't require top-tier graphics. Think of project managers, data analysts, software developers, and designers who value a sturdy keyboard, enterprise-grade security, and a display that gives a little more vertical space. The English keyboard layout feels familiar, and the black chassis keeps it looking businesslike in any meeting room. Who should skip it? If you're a hardcore gamer, a VFX